So here's a question for you. Who is a fan of zombies? Zombie movies or TV shows? Anyone here fan of zombies? I see some laughs. Yes? No, maybe? All right. You're brave and volunteering. You like your zombies. Has anybody ever seen movies or read the books of The Hunger Games? That's a little more popular. Okay. Or maybe the slightly older folks in the crowd like myself, maybe we're familiar with a book like 1984 by George Orwell. You see, there is in our world this growing anxiety about what the future will look like. We seem to have convinced ourselves that things are probably going to get pretty bad. I don't think we're ever going to see The Walking Dead, but you never know. Here's the thing. Whenever we hear passages like we heard in the gospel today, very often our imagination goes to exactly those types of ideas, whether it be zombies or dystopian futures or terrible potential yet to come. There's this anxiety, there's a concern, there's a fear that what is to come is not going to be good, and often our reading of Scripture reinforces that anxiety. But if you really drill down, if you really get into what's going on, the point of what Jesus is trying to say, that's actually not what he's saying. What you have to do is call to mind that line that was in the very middle of the gospel. When Jesus said these words, "Do not let your hearts become drowsy." Do not let your hearts become drowsy with carousing, with drunkenness, or with the anxieties of daily life. It seems like he's offering some good advice about what not to do on a Friday night. But don't misunderstand. Because Jesus isn't saying that he's got a problem with a good time or having a good party. That's not the point either. Remember the wedding feast at Cana, right? They ran out of wine, so he turned a couple 100 gallons of water into wine so the party could continue. The point he's trying to make is, as we face the struggles, the conflicts, and the tribulations of living our faith, as we wrestle with the normal daily anxieties that we know all too well, the temptations, the distractions, as we know all of this, he's begging us, do not let your hearts become drowsy. Don't let the worries and anxieties of everyday life, do not let the superficial desires of pleasure and all of that other stuff get in the way of what you know you deeply desire and long. Certainly, it's the same thing that the Lord desires and longs for us. Jeremiah, in our first reading, put it this way. Jeremiah says to us, long ago, when he was prophesying about Jesus' coming, he says, the day will come when God's Holy One, the descendant of King David, will come into the world. And when he does, he will bring with him a new understanding of justice. He will bring with him a new understanding of how to live, both in relationship with each other, but also with God. And then St. Paul, in the second reading, when he was writing to the Thessalonians, he's explaining to them, he's begging them, he's complimenting them because they have lived and conducted themselves well. They have loved one another according to the instruction of Jesus Christ. And he begs them, keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop. Don't let the worries, the anxieties, the drunkenness, the distractions of everyday life, don't let that get in the way. And this is precisely the point of Advent. We hear these readings today because it challenges us to refocus what we're doing, to reconsider yet again what our Christian life is about. We begin this day a new church year. And in doing that, we focus ourselves to live such a way because we know that Jesus is coming back. We know that not only will we welcome Jesus in a new way into our lives on Christmas, but also Advent is a time where we remember that greater second coming, when he will return finally at the conclusion of this age. And so, all of this instruction, all of this challenge, all of these admonitions we hear in the readings today are really about a choice. As we live in our world, the conflicts and the difficulties, the temptations and the trials that we face, we've got to decide, where are we in the midst of this struggle? It's not some great global zombie cataclysm, but there are real conflicts that we have to face. We don't have to worry necessarily about some eternal, unbelievable, dystopian future, but we do have to focus on the struggles of how we choose to live our lives day in and day out. And the choice is this: will we choose all of those superficial things, the carousing, the pleasures, the drunkenness, the anxieties and worries, the desires and the superficialities of life? Will we let that lull our hearts into drowsiness? Or will we choose to love one another? Will we choose to dedicate ourselves to justice? To that deepest longing. And I know each one of us has it. Somewhere deep down inside, we've got this incredible desire, this unbelievable drive to know that our life has meaning, that we are actually intended to live in such a way, to love with great authenticity and integrity in such a way that the people in our lives are better because of us, that our world is more just because of us, that our earth is more holy because we've contributed something, rather than being lulled to sleep and complacent by the superficial temptations and worries of everyday life. Let us choose, as we begin this new season of Advent, what choice will we make? Let us choose, as St. Paul challenges us, dedicate yourselves to this noble conduct. Live in such a way according to your greatest ideals. Do not allow the anxieties and the superficialities of life lull you to sleep. Stay awake. Celebrate this new year and rededicate yourself to lives of love and justice.